Mumbai is a city in India with more than 10 million people residing there. But Vatican City, with a population of just 1,000 people or so, is not a city but a separate state. Hello everyone,
I'm Rahul Devdar.
and I am Prasanna Naidu, and you are listening to the Right Views podcast. In this episode, we are going to discuss political concepts like the nation, state, government, etc. Let's start with this. Vatican City. See, the name itself has city in it, and it has less than 1,000 people living there in such a small geographical territory. How can it be a separate state? Right? So, Rahul, can you explain something regarding this?
See, the concept of city and a state and the geographical spread of area, it does has no meaning. What it is important is basically how much sovereign power that entity holds. So, for example, Vatican City is able to govern its own affairs. Able to tax its own citizens. It's able to create more revenues and spendings on its own and decide its own budgets. That makes it a separate sovereign. But at the same time, Mumbai, being a part of India, has its own limitations and it works within the Indian constitution. So it is part of a nation. So the geographical dimensions of any location are not the determinant, but the determinant is how effective or how much power that city or geographical area holds and how much it is able to control its own future. So that determines what is a state and what is not.
Okay. So now you have touched upon three words: state, nation, and sovereign. So can you explain each of it so that we have a clear idea of? Because what I have experienced is the word state, nation, and country are used interchangeably by most people because like people think it's the same, but theoretically it is not. So can we delve into that? Like, what is a state? For example, a dictionary meaning says that a state is a country considered as an organized political community controlled by one government. Or, for example, a German sociologist, Max Weber, says state is a polity that maintains monopoly on the legitimate use of violence. Do you agree with that?
See, there are multiple theories of state. So there are what you have touched upon is basically two different views of what is called a state. Now, to understand that, we have to go back to what is called a prehistoric or a pre-developed society, where people just came together and they were living like a in the wild. Now, to protect themselves, they came together and they formed something called as tribes. Now, these tribes, to form a tribe, you have to sacrifice some of your rights. So, you will share food, you will share shelter. So, this is the first concept where people gave up their rights and they formed something called as tribe, which is had its own laws and had its own what you can say rulings. Now, this tribe, this is called this is called the social contract theory. This was researched during the French Revolution, and or just before that. The the idea of that is that people come together and they want to have order so that everyone can prosper. So who will enforce this order? Suppose you and me and five other people together are in a country or in a group and you do some harm to me, then I would want revenge. But while taking revenge, maybe I have some advantage over you. So I will, instead of taking a fair revenge, I extract some more from you and then create another harm. Instead of our dispute coming to end, it will only keep on multiplying. To prevent that, we pull all our powers of dispute resolution, of avoiding punishments into the group, and the group decides that whether you have done something right or something wrong and what is the punishment. And when the group decides the punishment, you have to accept it and the dispute resolves permanently. So this is what Max Weber is referred to as the power of state to sort of impose violence on a person. So
Legitimate use.
legitimate use. So in this case, what happens is the state can, and the justification is often you will find when state takes away the life of someone because he has committed murder. So who gives this power to the state? Suppose a person kills your friend. So as a normal animal or a social animal, you want revenge for your friend's life, and you can kill the other person. But maybe that is not fair. Maybe he killed him by accident. Maybe whatever is the reason. So who is to decide what is the fair punishment? So the state is the entity created by these people together, and the state decides the punishment. So not one is responsible for that punishment, but a group of individuals who have no direct connection to this harm or dispute will decide whether you have to, what is the punishment, whether it is fair. So, and then that punishment will be acceptable to both the aggrieved party or the victim's party and all the perpetrators party also. So that is why it creates a fairness and it ends the dispute.
Exactly. So that's why wherever we read news or hear about some cases, we read that state of so and so government versus the other party's
Correct,
name.
correct. So in all criminal matters, if you see, the prosecution is done by the state. It's not the person individually who prosecutes for the crime. There are certain crimes where you can do that, but the state prosecutes because state is empowered to keep law and order and maintain the order within or resolving the disputes between its citizens. So that is the concept of creating a third party so that this concept of revenge doesn't keep perpetrating.
So let's talk about nation now, because I think it is the definitions are becoming clearer to me. So a nation is defined as a country considered as a group of people with same language, culture, and history who live in a particular area under one government. So, can we say that when a nation is governed by some law, or when law and order is followed in a nation, then that is a state?
Not necessarily. Now here there are lots of confusion and differentiation between what is the concept of nation, because if you use that definition, India is not a nation. Okay. Now that doesn't feel right. India is a nation. Now European Union is trying to become a union of sorts. Okay.
So India has the same culture, maybe not the same language. We
Correct.
have the
Not
same culture, we have the same history.
not necessarily. The culture across like north and south, if you see, there are variety of gradients, and if you move sufficiently to in one direction or the other, you will find that the culture also varies. You will find people dress differently. The same
So, can we say, okay, we will be talking about India at the end.
at the end. So
Yeah.
let me clarify that nation is not necessarily bound by a language or a culture specifically. But as you know, I think once Sarojini Naidu said that India is it's just an idea. It's an ideal set of values. And even in America, if you see the earlier discussion when they were inviting migrants from European countries and across the world to be part of the free world, and they did not have any visas, and it was an open invitation to all white people to come and stay in America. If you see that time, they were thinking of Italians, Germans, French, the Nordics, all sorts of white people coming to America and making it their home. Now, they were not bound by culture nor a language, but they were bound by values and the idea of a free society. And that's what creates the nation. And that's what India is. And even Sarojini Naidu, far back in, I think, before 1900s, if I'm not mistaken, or definitely in before 19, in the First World War or around that time, she did expound on this, saying that Indianness is something very different, and you can come across variety of things that you can classify as Indian, but Indianness is something that runs through everyone, and you will find that as a common value, and that is the value that we respect nature, we respect elders, we have, that sort of cultural under foundations, you can say, they run through all the cultures from north to south. So they might have different language, but they will still respect their elders. So why do they respect their elders? Why do they respect nature? So they will, within nature, they will respect every different things. So if you go towards Tibet, they will respect the yak. In the cow belt, they will respect the cow. If you go further down south, you will find that they will respect coconut trees which are along the coastline. If you go, they will respect coconut trees a lot more than what they respect within, like in the plateau region. So why is that?
Hmm.
That is because we respect nature in general. So, and that's whatever we take from nature, we say ki, we are thankful for that. So some of these things have been the binding force. So that creates a nation. So the nation, idea of nation, actually there was an interesting discussion, I think in Greece, first, where they were saying ki whether other people are nations or not, and whether they deserve to be ruled or not ruled. I think it was Romans, and I think it was Caesar, Julius Caesar, who was discussing this, whether we have to rule them, and they are, can we integrate them as a nation state, or we should consider them as, what they are called Carpathians or something. So they are considered to be people of the forest, uncultured lot. So do we consider them an uncultured lot, or do we consider them as a nation? So they were trying to debate that, and they were thinking, Rome is an idea. That even if in some of the movies you will find that Rome is an idea. Rome basically means the Roman Empire, and they will always talk about that as an idea. So nation is an idea. It's an idea, means it has set of values that people respect, and that values bind everyone. And that's probably more closer to a nation. So I mean, in my definition, if you see that India and the subcontinent is actually one nation, though they are different countries geopolitically.
Yeah. So this explanation of nation is quite interesting for me. Okay, so in these, whatever you said, parallelly, I think Ernest Gellner has a definition for nation. So he says a mere category of person become a nation if and when the members of that category firmly recognize certain mutual rights and duties to each other by virtue of their shared membership of it. It is the recognition of each other as fellows of this kind which turns them into a nation.
Yes, and again, I'll take you back to the two theories, the social contract theory, and you can look at John Locke's discussion about nations, and I think it is Second Treatise or something. John Locke has written extensively about nations and idea of state. Basically, his idea of state, as in whether people jointly make, uh, they bring together and create a separate nation. Because this is, yeah, you have to remember, this is a colonial people thinking about nations when they are ruling over people who are different nations, or in definitely different culturally, different in language, different totally. They are colonies. They call them colonies. They don't call them nations. Okay, but they themselves say ki, we are nation and we are separate. So their idea also comes from a wide variety of, from where you make the jump. So you make the jump ki it's the same as my club. My club has a membership criteria. If you say, is the membership criteria ki itna itna cricket loving people are in part of my cricket club, right? So in that cricket club, you play every game, but they are joined together by this idea of cricket club. There's a reading club, book club, that is joined together by an idea of a reading membership, that you like reading. So they are sort of expanding this concept of a group coming together into a concept of nation. But if you see, nations are not built on certain accepted rules. It's not a transaction, it's an emotion. So on one side of it is transaction, yes, but that is the operational side of nation, which is what is the country. Okay. And operationally you can tweak it. You can say ki it's this is a country, this is not a country, this is the same but two different countries, but they are behaving like together. So all those things you can do, but the thing is emotionally they have to be together, and it can be split emotionally also. Like for example, if you look at China and Taiwan, emotionally they are different, culturally they are same. They are they are similar concepts. Like Hong Kong is emotionally different from China, but culturally yes they are same. They are same language. Most Hong Kong has a little different, but you can say that but emotionally their value systems of China and Taiwan have diverged, and they have now diverged to that extent that now they may not match. And Taiwanese people think that they have a separate identity. They are not Chinese, they are Taiwanese. So that is coming from basically the emotional side of things, not the rational side. So rational side is one part of it, but that doesn't make a nation. So why do you think, if it was a transaction, it could have been undone by a better transaction, right? So let's say you fight for India for certain transaction value. I can give you a better transaction. Will you switch? No. There is an idea of India that is within you that you say, no, I am loyal to India. You can't buy me like that. So that is the emotional part, and that makes a nation.
Yeah.
And conversely, when you betray that idea of nation, you will find that you are not bound to your nation. You feel different. So if you see many of the Pakistanis who have gone abroad, if you see, then they realize that their culture, their values align better with India. They first have a conflict because they have been taught that India is your enemy, and they say ki, okay, my value system is much like India, so what is this mismatch? And then they say ki, yeah, I am maybe Indian in my sort of upbringing or thing.
Culture.
Yeah, so they like if you see popular Twitter or YouTube Pakistani people, many of them identify strongly with India. Most of them who are not in Pakistan, okay, who have sort of like sort of seen every angle of this story, because once you are in it, you can't see the perspective. Once you go out and you see different perspectives,
And maybe you can't even voice it
yeah,
if
and
you are in.
that is another problem in countries like Pakistan or China. And then like for example, now recently the doctor from Hong Kong who is defected, who is researching on the COVID vaccine, she feels she should sort of expose this or highlight this issue. And it could have been a very simple mistake or something, and then there's a way to do it, but the value systems are so different that she they try to suppress her, then she feels all her values are compromised, so she escapes and now she says something. It is the emotional part which tells you whether you are part of that nation or not. And that's why you see many of these people from Pakistan who are in Canada, in US, who have seen, or UK and these developed countries, and have seen multiple sides of nationhood. And they, despite whatever their religion, they feel that they are Indians. And then that's how it is. Now they are not actually betraying Pakistan. They are just identifying their roots. Yes, this is who I am. Unfortunately, the countries are divided. But I identify with this culture. This is my culture. So that is the nation. But country is a construct for convenience. So if you want to be in United Nations,
Countries, to we very simply define it, country is just a geographical territory which is governed by a government.
which is also recognized by other countries.
Yeah.
So that is so it comes from United Nations. So if you go to United Nations and say, "Okay, I'm a country," they say, who are you? Then then they ask around. Then they say, "Yeah, yeah, he is a country." So then they become a country. So when India became independent, India had no separate existence till then. It was a British colony. So when it became independent, America recognized India. You are a country, and we welcome you to free country. And that's what makes us a country. I mean, country is, we were always a nation, we will always be a nation. It depends, immaterial, what people say, do, what happens. But the thing is, we became a country when countries like USA and all, they acknowledge, yes, India is a country. So Israel, that's why the recognition problem, they don't still recognize Israel. That's a big discussion. If you see, who recognizes Israel and who doesn't recognize Israel. So many countries like US, India, all these people, they recognize Israel as a country. And that's why Israel has a seat in the United Nations. But there are many countries who refuse to recognize Israel. Countries haven't still recognized Taiwan. So Taiwan doesn't have any position in United Nations. It doesn't sit in United Nations at all.
So I don't know how many people have recognized it. So if no other country recognizes any other country, then there is no international existence of that country.
It's like that prank people play, right, in college, that they identify you and they say, nobody will notice you. It's as if you are invisible.
Yeah.
So it's like that. You suddenly have no identity. Nobody knows you. Nobody acknowledges you. Nobody wants to recognize me. You stand in front of the teacher, then also the teacher keeps as if he's not existing. See, I must be invisible. Have you seen that?
But considering your example,
Uh,
we have a teacher who is an authority. So now United Nations is it an universally accepted authority?
so there comes the concept of sovereignty. So sovereignty is something that I am my own master. Okay, you can't tell me what I have to do. Okay, that is the difference between why United Nations is not like a superior court. So Supreme Court, let's say you don't like Supreme Court judgment, you don't go to United Nations or a UN court and say कि ये judgment reverse करके दो, because UN doesn't have that authority. Why does it not have that authority? Because it's like a club. Okay, the club cannot tell you that you should marry someone or you should not marry someone, or you should take admission into this college or not this college. The club cannot decide, because it's a thing that we have created out of transaction. So we say, if you act too smart, we will leave you. That's the threat that you give to your club or your group. So same thing is United Nations. We have jointly accepted it as a third party, which we will respect, but it is out of our own respect that we our own sort of convenience that we accept what it does.
It's a very good term, convenience. So it is not it's the decisions of UN are not binding in nature, right?
That is because you are free person. Your country is free. There is no one to impose their will on you. Suppose 5 people gang up. Okay, they say you have to wear red t-shirt. They can't force you to wear a red t-shirt. Why? The same thing. 5 countries gang up and say, we don't like your government. You have to change. This ruler has to go and there has to be election and then some new president has to come. It's none of their business. So long as the people accept whoever is the leader, no one should interfere in that. So it is the concept, like at one end, if you start looking at every person is independent, ideally. But can every person be completely independent? No, he cannot be. Right? Like you have to depend on others for lots of things. Otherwise, you will not develop. So for development, you have given up some rights and said, ki, okay, we will develop together. Why we will develop together? Because we have same values. That's why we have formed one company. We have formed one team. That's the idea. Okay. Now we have formed this group so that we prosper. Now, if we can't prosper, or if five of the group people only prosper and the rest 15 can't prosper, then they don't feel that the values are, that they are having fun. So they say, कि, अगर मैं तेरे साथ रह के, if I'm with you and I'm not prospering, if I am in some other team, in other group, I will prosper. So they break away and they go and live in another country and they try to prosper there, and there they're able to prosper. Then they feel, I don't like that because I didn't prosper there. Now I'm prospering here. So I like this. Some people, they are not anti country, because again, see, they, even if you go, you find that you cannot prosper in India, you go to US, you become a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, you still feel that you're an Indian because that emotional connect is there. So you're still part of that Indian thing. So the emotional connection remains. The transactional element you have reset. So this country is a set of transactions. Nation is a set of emotions.
Okay. And government? Government?
Now government is another problem. Okay. Now see, what happens is, you have formed a group, right? This group has to do something collectively for everyone. Okay. Now every time everyone cannot come together. So you have to designate some person to take care of the, to manage the finances, or to someone who can, let's say you, every evening you play cricket. You have bats, stumps, balls, something. Everyone has their bats or whatever. Every evening you play in that. So one equipment you keep in one place. That person can run away with equipment, but you trust him because he's part of your group. He keeps all the equipment. Why you have selected? Because he lives close by. You can get the equipment, go to the ground very easily. You don't have to carry your equipment from all over the place. So it is easy. So you have made a convenient appointment. He will be your in charge for equipment. Someone will be in charge for collecting the money and whatever is required. Similarly, you need a unit actionable team. So you create a team which will work to create that prosperity. Now this team that you create is the government. So the government will create for you all the benefits that you do. Now in the government you have like two fundamental differences. So you can say that government will do only these things. Government is your servant. Okay. We want to make sure that everyone has roads, everyone has access to certain, law and order is there, so that their disputes get resolved. These are the things that the government will do. Now, this is one way of looking at it. You had some rights to settle the disputes amongst yourself. You took that right and put it into government. Now, this government is now a separate entity. Okay, now the minute it becomes entity, it wants to protect itself. Now, the government has become a separate entity. Now, if you say कि अभी government बंद कर दो, दूसरा हम निकालेंगे, some new concept. Let's say, we'll make a company, or not a company, or some another organization which will be, instead of government, we'll have this. Then they will not agree because they have now become self-protecting entity. Now, everything that, this is the legal concept again, every power that is created comes to you as an individual. And then you choose whether to give this power to the government or not. For example, when technology industry was created, your ability to be anonymous or online identity was suddenly created. These rights were not existing before 1990 or maybe 1980, whenever they created the technology for online identity. When online identity became a thing, government cannot have my identity. Okay. So my identity, whether I want to give it to the government, okay, that I will decide. So privacy is my right. So that is automatically comes to me. Now we did not deal with it because it was very difficult to, track you physically without technology. So in 1970, if you want to disappear, it's very easy. So now they have created something, a right to be forgotten is a right which Western countries are implementing. I want to have a right to be forgotten. So which means that is right available to me. I don't want to be remembered. In my कि इसने ये email लिखा था, this was his Instagram profile, this was his Twitter stream and all this. I want those to disappear once I die or not, to be left to some person. So who will decide that?
This is interesting, but I think we'll need a separate podcast episode for this. On this, yeah.
So the concept of coming to the concept of nations and governments. So nations was like the emotional part. Country is the operational part. And to work for this country, you have created an entity called government. And this government, you have to tell it what it to be done. Okay.
So government is a administrative concept, right?
Yes.
Country is a territorial concept.
Country is a territorial.
Territorial. And nation?
It is conveniently territorial. Because otherwise,
there are other eligibility also, but roughly we can say it's basically regarding the territory.
It is the historical remnant that it is a territorial concept. Soon we will no longer be territorial. We will be digital. Then it will be a different concept.
Right. Okay. And nation is a social concept.
Emotional concept. It's an emotional concept.
Psychological.
Yeah.
Psychological.
You can say psychological.
And state is again social.
So, state is somewhere closer to country.
It's kind of a mix of nation and country, right?
No, state is cross between, or it lies between a country and government.
Right,
so state is more transactional because you have created it out of your like certain rights that you have given up, key policing right, to maintain law and order, to protect your wealth and prosperity. So you've given these rights to state. So state sits somewhere between country and government. It overlaps. Sometimes in the context it overlaps both.
Yeah, with the government. State and government is very similar understanding.
The usage is state is the government.
Yeah. And okay. So one thing is also very confusing for many. Like we are defining the state as, like, we are talking about India as a state now. But we also have states within India. So Maharashtra state, Gujarat state. So what's the difference between that then? And why this confusion?
Correct. So now here I will point you to two different kinds of states. An American concept of state is different from an Indian concept of state. Okay. So America, people came together, landlords came together and formed states, which were the states that Texas, Florida,
Mexico,
New Mexico. These kinds of states were the creation of these landlords, okay, to put it crudely and to paper over a lot of detail, and they came together. These states came together into a union called the United States of America. So they are United States of America. They are states who have united to become America. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
And India, we created India, and within India we created states to easily administer the region. So we have created at a country level first.
Yeah.
And then within the country level, we have segregated this country into multiple weirdly shaped states.
So basically, US to US took bottom up approach and we took top down approach.
We took top down primarily. So we could have made hexagonal states. Okay. कि ये geography है. Within that geography, we could have made hexagonal states and said कि each state will have same area. Okay. Each hexagon is, 75 kilometers, square kilometers, and it will be like, or squares. Each square is 75 square kilometer, and it will be like multiple, there are 70,000 squares, and these 15 squares will become like each square is an entity, or
as it is in America.
No, America, because that is because of different reasons. But the thing is, we could have created uniform cells also.
Shapes.
Yeah, but our easy to administer methodology was language will be easy to administer.
Yeah.
So that's why we stuck to language. Whatever the lawmaker.
There was lot of debate on that too, but yeah.
That we will not go into, but yes.
Yeah.
Principle. Let's talk about the principle, overarching principle behind.
But do you think if our ancestors would have given a different name to this term of the Maharashtra state, Gujarat state thing, instead of that state, we would have called it different. It would have been a bit little. The confusion would have been gone.
No, that is also translation, because we call it Maharashtra Rajya. Okay.
Yes.
And
yes.
Bharat is a Rashtra.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, forget that Maharashtra, the name itself has got Maharashtra. Okay. But that apart, Gujarat Rajya and Rashtra. So basically that concept, the thing is we have to someday, we'll have to dissolve or sort of distance ourselves from these Western concepts of nation states, which we are trying to sort of, agree with, and come to that Indian concept which, Chanakya defined, which is, Chanakya has got a different concept of state. So it's like the nation has got a 7 pillar concept. It's a Saptaganga concept of nation. It's
Saptanga.
Saptanga concept of nation, which has got some, variety of characters which make it nation. But within that, there is a concept called Janpad, which is the citizenry. Now that citizenry is basically, like a administrative unit, which can be equivalent to a Rajya in modern India. So we'll have to go to someday, we'll have to reconcile our states as Janpads and nation as the Saptanga concept of Chanakya. Because it is more psychologically aligned with what our thinking is.
Yeah.
Because we have, we have classified it based on language instead of Janpad. Okay. What we have ended up is we have Nagpur, which has got language which is Marathi and somewhat Hindi, but it has got a different Janpad. Okay, their objectives are different compared to Aurangabad. Now, if you linguistically want to unite, yes, you can unite Maharashtra. But if you want to culturally or, in terms of objectives, if you want to unite, you have to unite every single city within India differently. Every district probably or taluka will be a separate entity in terms of Janpad. Each Janpad will have a separate sort of an identity. So what we have is we have a country and we have Janpad.
Okay.
Not like country, state, city or district.
What is India then? India is a multinational state?
That's not. India is a one nation but multiple citizen groups.
How come one nation? Because there are so many.
Emotion. Correct. The emotion is one, but our objectives are different. Like some country, some area in India wants to become, let's say, art hub. I mean, in modern parlance, all these aspirations cannot be clubbed into one box. Okay, but let's assume ki within, we are one college, but the arts stream is a different stream. It's not aligned with science stream. Now, why is it not aligned? They think differently. The science stream thinks differently, commerce stream thinks otherwise. There is each one, but they are part of the same college.
Okay.
So something like that. Emotional connect is the same, but the objectives are different. and we don't have any difference in each.
But that emotional connect is also outside the Indian territory, right? Current modern Indian territory. It's in Pakistan, it's in Nepal, it's in somewhere in Tibet, it's in Myanmar. So how can you say that India? Because then you have to include those territories also, those countries also, right?
No,
As
as they are part of our nation. They are just not
okay.
part of our country because country is an entity of convenience, but they
Right,
are
right.
still part of that nation.
So for now, we can say India is a nation state.
India is a, yeah, you can see.
Yeah. Okay, one interesting thing I want to ask you is about Kailasa. You would have heard this there is some island also where this Indian so-called godman or so something he left the country and has established his own kind of empire there. So what in this conceptual thing, what will we call that territory? Kailasa.
So now
There is
this is
there is a nation. There is a nation there, right?
no, there is no nation.
Right? Because they all have one idea, which they feel.
It's a janpad. Okay, it is a janpad. Okay, that is one. Okay, that is acceptable. It's a private property. That is also acceptable. Can they enforce anything? No, because ultimately, okay, what you can have a nation in mind. Okay, but country is where you can enforce it. You have an army backing you. Suppose that island is, I think, off the coast of USA. Is it? I don't remember exactly.
I don't know. Yeah.
So let's say that island was next to a country, and that country decides to capture that island. Like, take a similar case of South China Sea islands. Those are barren islands. China just visited them and said, "Ki they are mine." Okay. Now, how can China say that they are mine? And if China says that they are theirs, how is there a dispute? There was no one there.
Ocha. Okay.
So who was there? There was no one. It was empty piece of rock where some seagulls used to sit. China said कि ये मेरा rock है. It's my rock. And they captured it. Now they have made a military base. Them, aircrafts are flying. There is a missile battery out there. It's become a full-fledged airport. Reclaimed the land and all that. But they have the ability to enforce their will. So that is very important. If they have an army, they can stand up, they can, and they are recognized by other nations, then they will become a nation. Otherwise, they will be invisible, like
No,
that guy in
no.
the college.
Then that will be a country now. The recognition is needed for a country, not a
Country,
nation, right?
country, yes. So they
Ah,
will never be a nation because
yeah.
nation you will always have a problem. They need to be a country.
So what are they? They are just a mob.
Yeah, they are mob. They are mob with no legal recognition.
No, but I think they have a government, so I think they can be termed as a state.
See, in India, if you go, every cooperative housing society has a government which supersedes the United Nations. Okay, they can interfere in anything in your life. Okay,
This joke, I think mostly lawyers and litigants will understand.
no, but
Maybe. Okay, continue.
it is true. So they think, but does that make them a nation or a country or anything? Because my cooperative society definitely wants to approach the United Nations and get a separate recognition for itself, including a seat in Security Council. My, I think they think that they already have one. So that doesn't make you a country or a legal entity. The legal entity has to have multiple, things.
No, but if they are fitting into the definition, even if they
That's what the
promote
definition.
themselves as a state, the, even we don't recognize it, but they can promote it themselves as a state, right?
You can promote it. You can promote yourself as Ratan Tata. Will people recognize it?
Yeah.
From
Okay.
tomorrow, you can start promoting yourself as Ratan Tata. I will start promoting myself as Dhirubhai Ambani. Let's see if people recognize us. People don't recognize, no. That's the whole thing. Is not that you want to be known as something. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
thing is what people know you by, and that's why there is a Birbal story. one person is there, he's not well educated, so he wants to be called as Pandit. Okay. Now this story was told before Nehru became Pandit Nehru, so I am not liable for that. But the Birbal, so he wants everyone to call him Pandit, but nobody calls him Pandit because he is not a learned person. So he goes to Birbal and says, you only give me an idea how people will call me, recognize me. I should be called as a Pandit. So he says, okay. So he says, next time people call you Pandit, or when you see people calling you Pandit, throw stones at them. Be very angry. So he said, that's what I want. He said, you do that. So he said, okay. So Birbal tells some children, he's walking around. He said, you go and call him Pandit. He becomes very angry. So these children who are naughty, they go and call him Pandit and he becomes very angry at them. And from that day, everyone in the town calls him Pandit. Okay. Now he wanted an identity, people didn't give him. People decided to give him because they were manipulated into giving him that identity.
Yeah, so basically the point is others' recognition is important.
Others' recognition is very critical to be a country. And whether you are a
To
nation
be a
or not,
country, to be a nation, to be a state, like I think everything.
yes, everything, but others' recognition is not required for a nation. Your own sort of identification with a certain group is required for you to be a part of a nation. Whether they will make you a part of it is not. So you can be a part of, let's say, you can be fan of Mumbai Indians. Now, did they invite you to be a fan? No, you decided to be a fan. Tomorrow you will decide to be a Delhi Daredevils fan. They can't prevent you, but you should emotionally identify with Delhi Daredevils. Then you will feel that passion for Delhi Daredevils. Then you will be part of a Delhi Daredevils nation.
Okay, so if we consider this Ernest Gellner's definition, that mutual rights and duties of each other must be recognized, that shared membership will term you as a nation, then Kailasa can be termed as a nation, if not government or state.
Correct. So that's why these definitions are definitions of convenience. They are not like it's not a scientific definition. Like for example, if you want to define scientifically whether a particular animal is it a spider or not, so then you will go through a series of things. Is it a invertebrate or a vertebrate? Okay. Then does it have so many legs or not? So then it will slowly slot itself into spider. Once it is slotted into spider, you can clearly differentiate that there will be 15 attributes that it will have. So this is called a scientific definition. So this is not what you call a scientific definition. This is a attribution. This is a description of what existing nations at that time were.
Okay, yeah. So this there is this problem, and it will, I think, exist because we don't have a universally accepted definition of all these terms. Not even, I think, United Nations has defined it anywhere in their documents. Though they call themselves as United Nations, and there is no definition of nation here.
No, it is again, hopefully the definition will not be a constraining thing. It will be a liberal thing, which will be conceptually things will get different as we become more and more digital and new concepts come. What if we go to Mars? Whether entire Mars will become one nation, whether entire Mars will be different nations, whether Mars will be a nation
There may be
under United Nations, or will it have its own United Nations? All these concepts have to be open. You can't restrict them at this stage because that everything keeps changing. If you have a digital like Minecraft or something, that is its own space. Now what do you do with that? Or if you these multiplayer games, you have created an identity. It's a nation in itself. Now what do you call that? All these
right.
concepts have its own meaning, and we'll have to discuss and debate them every time an issue arises. But there is something which tells you that Kailas is not a country and Taiwan is a country. Even though Kailas claims to be a country and Taiwan, I don't know if it wants to claim itself as a country or not. But
Okay, then I think we have given enough food for thought to our listeners to think that are they living in a country or a nation or a state or whatever. So they'll figure that out. By that time, we'll come up with some new episode for this podcast. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Right Views podcast. If you like this conversation and want to listen more, make sure that you follow us here and get notified about the latest episode. Thank you.
thank you.